The C-stand is the main grip tool that we're going to be using to modify the light, but we can use it in lots of other ways too. Most of our C-stands are the classic spring-loaded type, so those are typically pretty frustrating for students. But these three legs fold together, and I'm just using my leg to kind of push in on those. So it's going to come like this in one giant piece, but it is really three different parts: the stand itself, the gobo head, and the gobo arm. But first, to pull these apart, they're spring-loaded, and most of them are, set up to work pretty well. First of all, I'm going to take this. There's three different size legs here, and the beauty of a grip stand or C-stand is that I can fit these legs over other stands in front of a light stand. Some of them come with a Rocky Mountain leg, so I can put it on an apple box or stairs or other surfaces that might not be totally level. But in this case, I have a large leg, which when I'm operating this C-stand, it should be pointing out straight in front of me. And then I'm going to adjust the gobo arm and gobo head so that they're in my right hand. And this is going to help me make sure that whatever modifier I put on this gobo arm is going to be safe. It's not going to loosen itself with gravity. And then my risers here, if I need to raise it up or lower it, I got two of those. I want to make sure and do the first one or the top one first, because if I do it the other way around, sometimes it's hard to reach if this one goes higher than I can't raise it anymore because it's out of reach. There are different kinds of modifiers available to put on this C-stand. What would I like to do with it? First of all, let's take a look at a flag. So I've checked out an 18 by 24 flag kit, but the sandwich, or the flag sandwich, comes with a couple of flags, which are simply black. These are for creating shadows, for cutting light, shaping light, all of those different things. This particular one is made out of a fabric known as duvetine or commando cloth. Some of the other flags you might find, like this one, are actually made out of metal. They tear less easy. So the flag itself would mount into the gobo arm here, and I want to make sure that they're tightening in the correct direction. So as I'm operating this, again, back in my right hand, and I'm over the large leg, as a precautionary measure, I could also add a sandbag to that large leg. All right, so now that I've got this secure and I've got the modifier in place, now I can start making some adjustments. What would I like to do with this? I wanted to cut off just the top portion of the light that's spilling onto the scene. Maybe I want to cut the bottom part of it, but my stand is only this high. Now, I could check out a shorter C-stand, and I'll definitely take a look at one of those as well. But with this stand, I could do lots of different things. I could change the direction of this arm. So if I rotate that down and over and around and bring that so that the flag is actually coming underneath the light, and I can use the height adjustment there to cut the bottom of the light that's being spread across the scene. And by doing it this way, I'm actually creating a safer set so that this eye poker right up here isn't at eye level. And if I do have to have a stand or some other sharp thing that's at eye level, I want to make sure and maybe take a tennis ball and cut a hole in it and put it on the end of there. So a bright yellow, fuzzy something is going to bonk into my head instead of this sharp, pokey thing right here. Remember, a lot of times movie sets are dark except for what's happening on the scene, so it's hard to see if a stand is unsafely set. And I'm trying to do something with the light like this, and now you see that this stand is at a terrible place. Even if the flag is doing exactly the same thing or exactly what I want it to do, find a better way to make it safe. It is possible. So there we go, manipulate that. All right, I'm gonna bring this all the way back around again. Now, if I go the other direction, essentially the wrong direction, and maybe I'm a lefty, and there's nothing wrong with that, except for gravity is playing against us. So no matter how much I tighten that gobo head, gravity of this particular flag and the weight of it is causing it to loosen in the gobo head. So even if I tighten it as tight as I can, gravity could still potentially loosen it. In this case, it got the arm, or the head. This one was the arm. Either way, I've created something unsafe. That might not be such a big deal with the fabric flag, but the metal flag definitely has some weight to it. Now, some of the other light modifiers that I might use in this kit might be a silk. So this is an artificial silk, and it has, what is it, a stop and a half or so cut. But we're not really thinking about cutting the quantity as much as we're changing the quality of the light. So by putting this in front of the instrument, we're softening the light and also expanding the size of it. So if I have an 18 by 24 silk in front of this 6-inch Fresnel lens or 8-inch Fresnel lens, now I'm creating an 18 by 24 soft light. There we go, I'm tightening that in play. And the same thing, maybe my light needs to go up a little bit. So it's doing the same thing that the diffusion was doing, except for it spread it out into a bigger rectangle. And so that's going to create a broader source for my lighting. Now it looks really bright because I haven't compensated the exposure for this shot. But that's included in this kit, so that's silk. Sometimes some of the larger kits come with an open frame that would allow you to put different types of diffusion on them. The other light modifiers we'll find in a kit like this one, the 18 by 24 double screen. So what this is going to do, just like the Scrams, is going to cut the quantity of light. Now it's open-ended on one side, just as the silk was, in case I wanted to create a softer edge for the particular area that I want to cut. So just like the half Scrams, if I wanted to just cut the light off the foreground in the scene, I could do that with this open end. If I simply wanted to cut just like that in front of the Fresnel lens. So if I don't have Scrams with a particular light kit, these will work great. There is 2 doubles and 2 singles in this kit. 2 barn doors, and a silk. And they do come in various sizes, so this is the 18 by 24. It does come in a smaller 12 by 18, which I typically use for cutting flares off of camera lenses. There's also the 24 by 36, which is a much more usable size in my opinion, especially for the silk. And then it jumps up to usually a 4x4. We don't have any 4x4s because you probably can't fit them into your vehicle, as neither can I. But you might find those on some sets as well. And then it gets into larger butterflies, which are framed. And again, we don't have one of those for checkout, but those are available from rental companies locally. A baby C-stand is also useful on set, especially if you've got a lot of lamps and other things that you need to cut. Some of the other ways that I can use a C-stand here would be also additional light modifiers, but in this case we're talking about clamps. And so in this case I have a beadboard holder, a mini beadboard holder. We also call it a mini quacker, as in it looks like a beak or something. Same thing with the C-stand rules. I'm going to do overhand and make sure that everything's loose there. And it's basically a vice grip, if you've ever used one of those tools, with some metal welded onto it. And that's going to hold onto a piece of bounce board or bead board. So find where that can fit in there nicely, open it up, and then I'm going to grab a piece of this styrofoam material. You'll find this at grip rental places and grip trucks. You can check out some in the equipment room. It's usually laminated with some shiny surface on one side and then just very shiny white plastic on the other side. I have seen some articles talking about getting away from some of this in the industry, as styrofoam is just a terrible thing for the environment. So we're going to use this as some bounce, and if I want to manipulate where that is, I can use the C-stand to find the right spot. So I'm using my instrument here to bounce the light back over there. And if I needed even more shiny, we could use the shiny side. Sometimes gives you a little bit of a poolside effect. So it might be a little bit too much contrast. All right, one of the other clamps, similar to the beadboard holder, the gaffer grip. This one here looks kind of like an alligator, so gator grip or gaffer grip is another name for it. And it's got two spud attachments, so I could mount it a couple of different ways depending on what I want to do with that. The gator grip might work better for holding a piece of foam core or art card, something that's a little bit thinner than beadboard. But in a pinch, I've definitely used a gator grip to hold on to a piece of beadboard. Now the reason I'd want to do that instead of having somebody hold it is this is more consistent and the stand doesn't eat lunch, so I don't have to worry about that. So I want to make sure that I'm trying to be as efficient as possible on set. Okay, so some of the other clamps or clips that I have here for hanging on to things or for mounting simply onto maybe a dolly or onto something in the location where I need to hang a light. I might grab a Cardellini clamp. So it has, these come in some different fashions as well. This is an end jaw Cardellini. So what that means is the jaw is at the end of the clamp. The other side has a baby spud, so if I wanted to put a light in there, I could do that. Or I could put this into a C-stand if I needed to hold on to something. There we go. I would advise against using a boom pole, using this for a boom pole holder, as this could clamp down too tightly on that boom pole and damage it. You should get a fish pole holder for that. Another clamp similar to the Cardellini is a Mafer clamp. Mafer, M-A-F-E-R, or a Bogan super clamp. And this does a similar job to the Cardellini, but these are a lot cheaper. So this will hang on to pipe and other things that are round or even square. And so that would give me, again, another baby pin, or I could put it into a C-stand and hold on to something with it. So a couple of different grip clamps that you'll come across that maybe you need for your shoot.